Welcome to Strip Cover Lit, where we squeeze the bigger picture out of literature. I'm Adrian Fort, and we are here for the 23rd in a 274-ish part series, I believe, as we journey poem by poem through the collected poems of Sylvia Plath. This being the 23rd poem, we are approaching the 10% mark. I know, we're not here for math. This is an English channel, but 10%, we're motoring along. This should only take us through 2027. The poem in question today is Monologue at 3 a.m., and it reads as such. Better that every fiber crack and fury make head, blood-drenching vivid couch, carpet, floor, and the snake-figured almanac vouching you are a million green counties from here, than to sit, mute, twitching so under prickling stars, with stare, with curse blackening the time goodbyes were said, trains let go, and I, great magnanimous fool, thus wrenched from my one kingdom. So I think we would do best to take some advice from Charles Bukowski here, and first off, ask what's the use of a title? Charles Bukowski asks us this question, and I think he expects a different answer than the one I'm going to give. I think there is utility in a title here. In fact, I think it's all the context that we could ask for. From dictionary.com, monologue. Noun. A long speech made by one actor in a play, film, etc., especially when alone. A dramatic piece for a single performer. Basically, this means that our speaker is alone. Our speaker is by themselves. It also means that our speaker is, when you think about the nature of monologues, the monologue is performed because the audience cannot know the inner thoughts of the character on screen, stage, etc. And maybe that's obvious enough, right? Maybe it is obvious enough that this monologue is performed because those without cannot see or read or hear the within. But here's the kicker. With this poem, and perhaps I should have copied and pasted the title there as well, Monologue at 3 a.m., if I were to be making this point so early in the video. Monologue at 3 a.m., the kicker with this is not the monologue part alone, but 3 a.m. Have you ever had a good, lighthearted, comforting talk with yourself at 3 in the morning? No, you have not. If you were up at 3 a.m. and you are talking to yourself, or even thinking to yourself, like the dramatic part of this need not be necessarily incorporated. If you are awake at 3 a.m. and talking to yourself, it is because of bad things. It is because you do not believe that your life is going quite the way that you want it. You are never awake at 3 a.m. and ironically, right now for me, it's 3:13 a.m., but you were never, and I'm talking to myself in front of a computer screen. Anyway, you were never awake at 3 a.m. talking to yourself saying, you know what? Things are going pretty well. I really like the way things are turning out. This is all right. This is awesome. This is great. Tomorrow is going to be a good day. If you're up at 3 a.m., that is already not the case. If you're up at 3 a.m., that is, and there are contrarians out there who are going to be, well, but on October 23rd, 2021, I was up at 3 a.m. giving myself affirmations. It doesn't matter. If you're up at 3 a.m. giving yourself affirmations, if you're up at 3 a.m. giving yourself good messages, it's because you absolutely don't believe it. So I think that is where the context for this poem needs to start. And then once we get into the actual lines of the poem, better that every fiber crack and fury make head. What is this saying? What is this stating? It is better to exercise these frustrations. It is better that I make all of these emotions boil over, make head. Blood drenching, vivid couch, carpet, floor, and the snake figured almanac. What are we talking about here? It is better that these emotions come to head, and my blood drench vivid couch, carpet, and floor, and the snake figured almanac. It is better that this sounds like Booger Hook pounding the bang switch, right? This sounds like um, Booger Hook pounding the bang button on the double barrel, if you catch my drift. This sounds like self-deletion is what we're going on with there. The reason I don't say this in more common terms is because YouTube does not like these things being said, but that's what that is. It is better that my emotions boil over and my blood drenches the couch, right? Vouching you are a million green counties from here. The mono in this monologue is part of the problem. So it's better that I make my feelings manifest by self-deletion because you are not here. You are so far away. The mono in monologue at 3 a.m. is the problem. Being alone is the problem. Then to sit, mute, twitching, so, where am I? Under prickling stars. So, this is a very important word here. Than. It is better that I self-delete because you're away from me than to sit mute, twitching so under prickling stars, than to sit here basically crying under the stars. The then is very important. The stars meaning in the dark at 3 a.m. It is better that I self-delete, that I manifest my feelings and self-delete because you're so far away than to sit here and cry for you. With stare, with curse, blackening the time that goodbyes were said, trains let go. So, what we're doing here is saying that it is better that I self-delete with all of these emotions running wild because you're so far away than sit here and cry with you and transform the last time I saw you into a negative memory. I do not. I would rather do that first thing, that self-deletion thing. I would rather do that than to change my last memory of you into something bad. And I, great magnanimous fool, thus wrenched from my one kingdom. So there's a couple things going on here that are maybe necessary to talk about. So what's the kingdom? The kingdom here, well, that's the you in question here. The you here is the kingdom. It is better that I go through all of these terrible, self-harming things than turn you into a negative memory because you are my kingdom. Now that might seem in itself enough to have a very poignant message. But there's one other word here that is troubling in this entire poem of sort of the entire poem almost reeks of a sense of self-valuelessness, almost reeks of a sense of powerlessness. It's almost as if the you here does not realize that the speaker has a type of learned helplessness that is blocking them from living their own life whenever our speaker is away from the you in question. This word right here, fool. Now, fool can just mean idiot. I feel like a fool. I feel like an idiot. In the sort of common parlance, in the nomenclature of daily life, fool just means moron, but this is not the common parlance. This is not the nomenclature of daily life. The moment that kingdom is thrown in, the moment we are referencing kingdom, fool has a completely different connotation, and is very sneaky the way that Plath does this, because kingdom comes after fool. Everyone knows that fool in the common parlance just means idiot. If you were to introduce the idea of kingdom before fool, we automatically get that message. The fool, the juggler, the someone who is bringing light to the court, the someone who is able to make fun of the king, because the king has to be able to be made fun of or he is a bad king. The moment that kingdom is introduced, we have a different understanding of the word fool, but Plath puts kingdom after fool, so that we then have to reimagine the entire poem afterwards. So what are we saying here? And I, great magnanimous fool, thus wrenched from my one kingdom. The fool does not own the kingdom. So the fool was used to bring levity to the court. The fool was the one person who could make fun of the king and have basically be okay. If the earl made fun of the king, the earl's probably not seeing the morning light. The fool, therefore, holds a very precarious position within the court. The fool is someone whose power comes directly from the king. The fool does not exist in the daily life. The fool does not have his plot of land. The fool is there for the express purpose of levity. Why is this such a big deal in this poem? Well, we get the image of the crying clown at the end of everything, for one. It is better that the fool self-deletes than to be separated from the king. This is a different type of relationship. It suggests also wrenched from my one true kingdom, the kingdom being the individual being the king. I mean, for all intents and purposes, that's what we're throwing in this pairing of words to do, is to illuminate the individual, the you, that is missing from the poem, suggesting that the king, who is without the fool, is just off somewhere being taken seriously. And when you take a deeper context into Ted Hughes and Sylvia Plath, etc., obviously there are connotations for those things going on in this poem, but they need not be true. This poem can be for everyone because of the universal feelings herein. This poem might now be my favorite Sylvia Plath. I don't have a whole lot of experience with Sylvia Plath. This is the 23rd in this series, so probably I've read 40 Sylvia Plath poems total, but there's so much nuance going on here that I think this is something that is really moved to the front for me. And, I'd never heard of this poem, I don't think, before doing this series. And so my favorite poet, probably my favorite writer, is Emily Dickinson. And it's amazing how many hidden gems there are in the 1775 poems from Emily Dickinson. You get off the beaten path, off the ones that you hear about all the time, and you get to poems like this, and there's really other stuff going on, and it's difficult to understand exactly why these are not the poems that have come to the forefront. But maybe this one is a little too cryptic to really so it's not Hope is the Thing with Feathers by Emily Dickinson, right? That poem starts very strong and very obvious, very blatant. Hope is the thing with feathers. This poem does not have that. This poem is very cryptic. This poem is very in the weeds. This poem is very maybe not difficult to break down, but you have to break it down to really get a whole lot out of it. So, sitting here at 23 of 274, it is wild for me to imagine which of these poems are still hidden inside the big yellow book of Sylvia Plath. That's all I have for this poetry discussion. If you enjoy or appreciate the things that I do here on the channel, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other literature lovers. And if you find yourself here by chance but not design, consider hitting the subscribe button in order to stick around for more. There's poetry on the channel every Monday, and there are several read-alongs going on right now. We are going through A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, the Fincavigia edition, all of Ernest Hemingway's short stories. We are about to wrap up Dubliners by James Joyce. Lots of stuff going on the channel, and I hope to have you back for the next one.